right that the earth is mine. Burn bright, let the ember shine. You know I'm gonna get it every time. Champion, wearing the crown. I can see my name in lights. Spark from the heart and it shines so bright. Yeah, let the whole world know. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by Denim. As a business owner myself, I personally know the importance of financial stability and preserving cash flow to help navigate through any freight market. With Denim's comprehensive service offering, you now have an all-in-one financial partner whose platform includes factoring, payments, freight audit, document collection management, and analytics, which help keep your business financially healthy and increase your team's time to focus on revenue-producing activities. You can also take advantage of Denim's free credit check, which they perform on all of your customers. And Denim will proactively reach out to you if they spot any signs of credit deterioration. Finally, Denim always pays your carriers first. As a broker, this is imperative to preserving your credit score in the market, which ultimately helps you become a broker of choice to your carrier partners. Are you ready to learn more? Visit denim.com to schedule a demo today. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Coffee with the Freight Coach. My name is Chris Jolly. I am your host, and I am the Freight Coach. Before we jump into the episode, as always, thank you guys so much for coming out and listening to this podcast. If this is your first time tuning in, welcome. This is the real side of freight, ladies and gentlemen. And I say that before every single show. And what I mean by that is I only speak with transportation professionals because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to talk to the right individuals who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. So you can take all this information, apply it, utilize it, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. I do have one small favor. I know you guys are going to get value, but if you get value out of this show and you're not subscribed, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there to your network because if you see value, your network's going to see value as well. All right. I got some very special guests for you guys here today. We got two guests that are going to come on this show today. And there's a big push out there, the electrification, of fleets, emerging technologies that are out there, green initiatives and everything. And, most importantly, it's kind of getting ahead of some of these emerging technologies that are out there that can be better for your fleet, better for the environment, and everything else out there. So I have Mr. Jimmy Fields of Purkeys and Mr. Josh Essmon of ZeroRPM to come on here and kind of break some of these stuff down. So, gentlemen, thank you guys so much for joining me.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate you having us.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Perfect. And so, Jimmy, how'd you get your start at Purkeys, man? I think you got a cool story with all of this, man.
Yeah. So straight out of high school, 16 years old, I was just looking to work. Had some family members working here at Purkeys. Back when we were just starter and alternator rebuild shop.
Mm-hmm.
The previous owner and the founder of Purkeys, Bruce Purkey, brought me on and kind of taught me the ropes. Kind of worked my way up, from ground up, and loved it. Never left. So I've pretty much done everything there is to do here at Purkeys, and now my role is sales application engineer. After about 23 years of being here, so kind of my job is to, sales responsibilities. Typically, mainly just in the Northeast, but I cover leasing fleets, so I'm pretty much all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
but also working very close with our engineering department and our guys out in the field, just make sure they, are doing all the right things for their customers, and I kind of support them as well. So.
Okay. Nice, man. And then, so Josh, what about you, man? How'd you get your start over there at ZeroRPM?
Well, that's a great question. I was working a mundane 9 to 5. I say 9 to 5. But I was working in a local automotive plant. Hated it. Was just a regular assembly technician. Decided, hey, I'm going to go back to school for electronics. And next thing I know, there is a friend of mine from high school who posted something on Facebook about ZeroRPM, and I said, "Well, that sounds pretty cool." And it was his. Come to find out, it was his dad, who is the founder, Lance Self. I'm referring to Landon Self. We actually graduated together, and he's still with the company as well. And said, "Hey, let's give that a try," and never looked back. That was 9 years ago. So, come on board as a service tech, or not a service tech, I'm sorry, but an installation tech. So I just did shop work, whatever needed to be done, sweep floors, build trucks, anything in between.
Mm-hmm.
And 9 years later, we've climbed up to being responsible for all of the application engineering side of things that go on between sales and engineering. So I kind of bridge that gap to take what the customer needs, bring it back to our engineering team, and help them move the product in that direction.
No. So, and everything's kind of changing out there for fleets right now. There's a ton, and it depends, obviously certain parts of the country are very much pushing for changing zero emissions and everything else that's going on out there. But, there's also some other things that I think, some people need to be aware of, and that, it's anti-idling regulations that are being passed out there. Like, I think some people kind of, and this is, I think this is applicable to brokers and carriers alike, is your freight going into an area that does have anti-idling laws that are out there? Because I know, like, I believe it's, you can't even have a truck out on Long Island overnight if it's idling and stuff like that. Like, there's certain areas of it. So Jimmy, like, how are you guys working, like, with your customers and your users with this, and kind of keeping them up to date on that?
Yeah, it's very important, and very, you hear a lot of the complaints, obviously, from the drivers, because they have to have all their creature comforts, and that's where you hear a lot of the complaints. But yeah, I mean, you got to get that power from somewhere, to operate all those creature comforts. So, one of the biggest things, in like a sleeper cab, when you're talking over the road, we offer, power inverters. So we have, power inverters so they can run their microwaves, refrigerators, all those sorts of things. But, most off the shelf power inverters, they have a voltage shutoff at 10.5 volts. So when you reach 10.5 volts, your truck's not going to start. That's a dead battery. So, those are some of the ways. Solar has really come a long ways. So that's a really excellent way of, trying to get some of that power back. But obviously, you have to find alternative source of power to be able to run, keep that driver comfortable, and keep that driver.
Yeah. Is there,
Again, go ahead.
I was going to say, now, is there something, again, you can just call this my own ignorance or my own curiosity here, but, like, you mentioned solar there. And then for some of these trucks, is there any technology that's possibly out there emerging to, when it comes to, like, an APU being solar powered, but then storing that power in the event of, like, you think of driving through the Rockies in the middle of winter, and I've moved a lot of freight over I-80 in my career, and I've had drivers shut down for like 2 or 3 days in the state of Wyoming due to freak blizzards and snowstorms and weather events and whatever happens. Because it's like, again, I'm thinking like driver safety here. In the event that they're idling their truck and that, you know, they run out of fuel, catastrophic event style thing, then this is another lifeline to, you know, run their APU through solar. Is there something like that that's out there?
Yeah, I mean, it'd be like an EPU, so an electric power unit,
Mm-hmm.
where you have, you know, like lithium batteries. And I know Josh can speak more to the lithium technology, but yeah, battery storage. But having those, you know, other things to supplement, such as solar. It's all about opportunity. You know, opportunity charging. So that's where solar really comes in.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So Josh, with that being said, though, with the lithium options that are out there, like, how are you guys working with people to kind of, are you guys are fleets concerned about that? Where you know, because you know, obviously not everywhere in the country is going to be 70 and 75 at all times, and you know, keeping that driver safe and keeping that driver comfortable in the event that they are shut down or whatever that looks like. I mean, I just naturally, growing up in Wisconsin as well, I naturally think of like when it comes to winter driving and stuff, you can never leave your house without certain things in your vehicle. And you know, now I think with the emerging technologies that are out there, like I think like you can extend the lifeline of some of these things.
Yeah, we've not done a ton of business, just full transparency, in the over the road market as of yet.
Mhm.
Diesel APUs have just been they're hard to compete with for the price, right?
Yeah.
But when it comes to other markets, the work truck or the EV, the emergency vehicle market, their primary concern is stopping the idle to save the maintenance, to save the wear and tear, to extend that vehicle, because COVID messed the supply chains up for everyone.
Yeah.
So they're having to keep their vehicles longer than they want, which means they're having to work on them more than they want. So if they can extend that life without having to replace the motor and still be able to keep that truck on the road for 8 years now instead of 5 or 7. You know, that's what they're looking at. They're not so much looking at the emergency backup side, but the life expectancy, extending that.
Okay, so you guys are really tackling the service and work truck aspect of the industry then. And you know, like that's one of those ones that I'm, you know, getting familiar with about you know, because I'm friends with Dickinson Fleet Services.
oh yeah.
They're now Cox Automotive. And you know, I actually went out to one of their events a couple of years back, and they were rolling out a battery powered service truck for their fleets and everything. And, you know, again, that's like a whole other aspect of the industry that I think is, you know, it's not even talked about, you know, in the mainstream. It seems like it's like everybody wants to talk about certain things with over the road, but it's like, how do we keep these trucks on the road? And, you know, and again, like that's why I always enjoy talking to people who are all encompassing in the transportation industry because, you know, yeah, you guys might not be physically driving an 18 wheeler, but you guys are servicing them. You guys need to be out there in the event that something happens. And then like so like the service and the work trucks, you know, how like you brought up a 5-year life cycle on them. Is there an emerging electric push inside of that as well? Or is there natural pushback?
Jimmy, you want to take this or you want me to?
Yeah, there's definitely a push. In you know, a lot of the leasing fleets too are, you know, they're looking for that next best thing. You know, even just to compete with each other. And but yeah, certainly a push to go electric. You know, a lot of the things that Josh recently said with you know, engine wear, you know, decrease in fuel costs is huge,
Mhm.
especially in the trucking market. So,
Right. I would add that, you know, no one is. I say no one. I can't name anyone that is jumping on board with trying to electrify their entire fleet as far as completely electric vehicles,
mhm.
due to infrastructure and just the unknown of how it's going to perform in that service type industry. Uh, but with the ZeroRPM, the idle mitigation side of that, being able to stop the idle, still use the motor to get you from A to B, which is what they're comfortable with, what they know. But just having that idle turned off when they don't need that big motor running. So you don't need it to keep your air conditioner cold. You don't need it to run your lights and radios. We can basically do everything the engine can do without having to idle it off of our lithium technology. So being able to provide that without such an impact to their infrastructure or trying to find charging stations and all those new things that come about when you go full electric is a big plus. It's a great middle ground.
It's more of a hybrid option than going full electric. I don't think we're there yet.
No, definitely. I feel like the infrastructure is the biggest thorn in the electrification actually rolling out nationwide. I mean, and then because it's like, and you also, if you think about battery life as well, I mean, you're going to need to have some of these charging stations set up every couple 100 miles, because not everybody's going to only say stop in Phoenix, Arizona and charge up to go to Los Angeles and stuff like that. So I think like there's a whole power grid that essentially needs to be established for charging stations alone. And because it's battery life and stuff like that, like it's the middle of the summer right now in everywhere, and especially in Arizona. So it's like, how does that wear down on the batteries and everything, and the performance if there is inclement weather like extreme heat or extreme cold, does that shorten the life of these batteries?
Go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I was going to say I could speak heavily to just a regular lead acid battery. That's kind of my world. Josh is more in the lithium world. But the summer's where you do all your damage to batteries. When you're talking lead acid batteries, it's that first cold day is when it shows up. So everybody wants to think, cold weather is what does all the damage. No, it's all that chemical reaction that happens during the summertime, that heat. That's where that's what does all your damage. So, we, Purkeys, we go out and we do tons of training. We're always doing training, providing methods of, properly taking care of all these connections and charging solutions. Very heavily involved in TMC, which is Technology and Maintenance Council, just to help write these recommended practices for the industry. So they are doing all the right things to protect the batteries. Lithium is becoming very prominent at TMC, and a lot of those practices are still yet to be written, but two totally different technologies.
Okay. Now, yeah, go ahead, Josh.
No, I was just going to say same thing with lithium. There's limitations with lithium when you get, super hot. You get over 140 F, or once you get below that 0 degree F with lithium, the safest thing to do is just disconnect it, and that preserves the chemistry. So the shelf life of the temperature is not near as important as long as you're not charging and discharging that. So maintaining those battery temperatures in the heat and the winter are both very critical to lithium as well.
So I'm looking at this, like what's the typical ROI for a system like this to be put into place for, preserving battery life or something like that? Like, are you guys working with them? Because it's like, again, I always think, obviously trucking's a very, traditional diesel engine, diesel motor style industry that's out there. So how are you guys like breaking those down? Is there a longer life cycle to the battery operated like APUs and stuff like that? Or, are you guys working with them on that? Is it lithium lithium or electric style APUs that are going to be rolled out more? Or is it more traditional, guys want to keep the diesel powered generators, or what does that look like?
Josh?
Yeah, so I would say for a ZeroRPM typical idle mitigation system that we're installing service truck wise, we're looking with air conditioning and everything, you're looking at somewhere around the 3.5 year mark on the ROI, the initial investment. That's just with the fuel cost and the PMs factored in, not anything outside of that normal realm of oil changes and fuel and depth, of course. So after about 5 years, 6 years, these guys are replacing motors in the service industry. A lot of the guys I know that are running 24-hour trucks. So if we can extend that out to where they're not getting that $25,000-$30,000 bill at that 5-year mark, that's our goal, which is not factored into the initial ROI, right? It's just the ROI is strictly preventative maintenance and fuel.
Hey guys, before we go any further in this episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by TIE Software, the battle station for freight brokers. Your TMS should be viewed as a tool to help you execute at a high level in any freight market. With TIE, brokers gain access to a comprehensive platform that has rate intelligence and quoting history converged down to a single screen. TIE also equips your team with all the data they need to confidently negotiate pricing while also allowing them to communicate directly with both carriers and customers from a single command center. With most of your tasks automated through multiple integrations, your team can focus on making strategic decisions and not manual ones. Are you looking to revolutionize your brokerage by giving them a competitive advantage through automation? Visit www.tiesoftware.com/battlestation to learn more. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. Okay. With reefer trailers and everything too, are you guys working? And then, excuse me, Jimmy, this might be more for you here, man. Are you guys working with the fleets on that style and on the reefer trailers?
Yeah, absolutely. Reefers have a diesel engine as well. So most all new reefers, that are manufactured today and have been for quite some time now, are actually built with the option to be able to switch over to electric standby. So once Purkeys became part of Mission Critical, we had a bigger toy box to play with. So one of our sister companies, Kuzmal, who does a lot of different electronics, had a product that they introduced to the fire and ambulance, to where they could hook up to shore power, and once they jumped in that vehicle, because they were in a rush, they had to get and go, they didn't have time to mess with anything else, it would automatically eject that plug and they can get on their way. So we've introduced there's companies out there that make it. I mean, you can put just that high voltage at the building so they can plug in and be able to run their reefers on electric standby. But we have a system that really provides a very safe way of transferring that high voltage from the building to the trailer, so that trailer can, or that reefer unit can switch over to electric standby automatically. It's high. When I'm talking high voltage, I'm talking 480 volts, down to 240 volts. That's pretty lethal voltage if anybody were to come into contact with it. So we have a very safe way of providing that power with our SafeX. And again, a lot of the different reasons a company would want to switch over to electric standby. Obviously fuel, they're going to save fuel costs. But recently, just in the past couple of years, noise has been a big factor. If you've ever been on at a distribution center and heard all those refrigeration units running, they're pretty loud. Mm-hmm. So that's a big factor there. So making some good strides on safely providing that high voltage so those trailers can switch over to standby power.
So how are you guys, I think about a lot of these emerging technologies and these different technologies busting away from the standard maintenance style of things. Are you guys working with maintenance companies out there to train up the technicians on that? Or are you guys in technician schools to try and keep all the techs that are out there up to date? Because, again, I naturally think when we're talking about a lot of these things, I naturally think roadside repair, or there's issues or wherever they're at. And, because it's not everywhere in this country is a major metropolitan area that's going on out there. So how are you guys educating techs up, to keep them up to date on this in the event that they encounter one of their, customers' vehicles on the side of the road, or, semis on the side of the road that they got to go up and maintain?
Yeah, great question. That's where, that's all I've known within Purkeys. That's one of the biggest things we do is we spend a ton of time um, on the technician side. We provide all the states, most of the states do like a state tech competition for all their techs
Mm-hmm.
and try to promote their techs to become better. We support all those. And it's all in an effort to move up to TMC. I was talking about TMC earlier, to the kind of the final competition for all technicians. So we spend a ton of time training. We also provide free training, with our products.
Okay. And then, so Josh, no, I'm sorry, were you gonna say something there?
No, go ahead.
So with how are you guys out there working with? Do you guys work with fleets direct on what your guys' products are, and or are you guys kind of in the same boat where it's like you guys are at TMC, or you guys are training up the techs? Because I'm sitting here and you guys primarily work inside of the mobile fleet in fleet repairs and everything. So how does that look?
So historically, we've worked very closely and we'll continue to work very closely with any fleet that adopts our technology. I usually, me or myself, done quite a few, if not all of them, but I'll show up and spend a day or two with the techs, making sure we go through everything top to bottom, inside and out, that they feel comfortable working on this lithium technology. And it's not something to be scared of. It's just a battery,
Mhm.
right? And making them more familiar with the product overall and with how the technology is designed to work. In parallel to that, we have not been to TMC yet, but we have done on the emergency side, which will roll into TMC, I'm sure at some point, where we've started doing they hold a classroom type training every year for all the emergency vehicle takes, EVTs, to show up and they can take your class, which we've also sponsored several classes with them, and continue to do that as well, and roll that into the work truck market and the over the road market as the time comes.
Mhm. Okay. So, with a lot of this that, a lot of your guys' products and stuff like that, like how are you working to like keep the maintenance or like the life cycle going from some of this stuff? Because it's like if you guys are working with independent contract, owner operators and stuff like that who might not have a massive, budget for a lot of things, but they're looking to get little improvements here and there on their their trucks, for example. Are you guys working with them on like the cost benefit analysis of utilizing your guys' products as opposed to the traditional forms that are out there? Or is this included in like if they have any preventative maintenance checks that are going on there, they're checking the life cycle of your guys' products for them?
All
So
the above.
what we do, yeah, go ahead, Jimmy.
No, I was just going to say all the above. That's You have to do those things. No matter how big or small the company is, we do those things. ROI calculations on a website. I know both companies have that. Um, Preventative maintenance. We want our product to succeed. So if you don't do all those other things and provide, maintenance tips and, preventative maintenance checks, it only makes us look bad. So, um, that's one of the things I feel that we do very well at.
One thing I'll add to that is with the auto mitigation system, when you do decide to go into that hybrid market, we offer a feature at ZeroRPM called telematics. And what that is it's a web-based portal where you can go in and actually see the performance of your fleet, like a lot of other telematics, but this is strictly for the auto mitigation portion. So it shows you all the data that we capture, then breaks it into bite-sized pieces where you can understand it. How many hours did the truck idle? How many hours did we prevent it from idling? How many gallons of fuel is that? What that fuel saving look like based off of your geolocation, uh, and so on and so forth, to really help you understand what you're saving and the ROI, as we keep talking about, of this auto mitigation system.
How do you think, like, because I'm thinking I bought a truck here recently within the last year, and it sends me like a monthly or sometimes like a weekly diagnostics report on my truck, how it's running and everything else. Do you guys see that being like the standard moving forward? Is it's like drivers, whether it's a mobile fleet truck or an over the road truck, they're going to start getting weekly reports that are, showing the life cycle of the performance of all of the parts that are in there? Or is it going to be broken down into critical components, right? It's like engine performance, tire performance, electric performance. Do you guys have any insight into something like that?
There is definitely a big push, for the telematics side. So, upper management can see what's going on with the asset, but really we're at a point where they got to figure out what they want to see. You have all these, providers, telematics providers that, provide so much data. Now it's, kind of the point where what kind of data do they want to see? I know from the Purkeys side, we're making a big push to make sure we provide all the right outputs so they can, tap into our systems and get that data that they need.
I mean, because I look at it as, anybody who's investing in, additional parts into their vehicles, into their semis, all of that stuff. I think, monitoring the life cycle and actually seeing that ROI, I think with advancements in technologies that are out there, and especially with multiple different companies that it's like, how are you guys transmitting data that's out there? Is it, via API, or how does that work to kind of, because again, I'm just, my mind keeps going back to, if it's battery powered, solar powered, everything else, like I just remember the old school ways of like checking the amps of the battery and seeing how much power that is. How do we do that to avoid failure of, these after, like, I don't want to call it an aftermarket part, but like, how do you avoid, yeah, so like you're going to be stuck out there in the middle of nowhere and you're not going to have any idea that, batteries are running low or your backups are running low or whatever that looks like.
Go ahead, Josh.
No, I'm sorry, Jimmy. There's the delay of my phone. What I'd say is what we've seen is our customers have really asked us to help them anytime anything is going wrong. They want a notification. If there's somebody's left the hood open, or if the battery cells went offline due to the temperature or the voltage level, they want to be notified immediately. So what we've done is we've turned that into an email today. There's a historic log that's kept inside their telemetrics portal, but there's also an email that they can receive, and they can keep track of that in real time if they're monitoring their email there, where they can go out and address the issue, whether it's a user issue or if there is something going wrong with the vehicle and they need to they need to pull it out, bring it in for service, whatever the case may be.
Yeah, I think that, that's an area that I think, I'm just as a business owner myself is, if I'm not able to perform, I don't make any money. Just like if these guys' units aren't able to perform, that's lost revenue and everything else. And I think being able to, obviously breakdowns happen, things happen, all of that stuff. You're always going to have a component of that, but I think a lot of it is like it's just the risk mitigation factor. How do we lower that as much as possible to ensure that a driver doesn't leave with a critical load on there of high value refrigerated freight, and then boom, reefer quits halfway through and it's $1 million claim or something like that. So it's like that's the stuff that I'm most excited about, because as things progress and evolve, it's like, how do we get better at predicting a lot of these things, So it's like we don't use that piece of equipment in that moment. And then there is that data that's out there. I mean, what are those things, Jimmy, from your perspective, man? What are you the most excited about some of this emerging technology that's coming out?
I think the biggest thing is these trailers, because we have a lot of product just on the trailer side, and the trailer is getting smarter and smarter, which means more batteries,
Yeah.
more demand for keeping those batteries charged. I think that's one of the things that I'm the most excited about, and the most room for improvement as far as getting that message back to the upper management when something does go wrong. The trailer's getting smarter. We got to be, everything's underway now, but we got to figure out how to get that message back, so we can prevent some of these road calls and biggest thing is downtime.
Yeah. Now, Josh, what about you, man? What new stuff is coming up in your world that you're really excited about, and that you see like there's going to be some major benefits out there for your guys' clients?
It's just I would say getting more information faster, right? We're in a world of I want it right now, and Amazon has done a great job at providing that service in a consumer way. So same thing with data. Everything is more and more connected, whether it's 4G, 5G, hotspots, even Bluetooth is still growing in the technology. So being able to get more and more data more and more quickly, right? So right now we're pushing a dozen different emails. What I would like to see, and what we're pushing towards is having real-time data instantaneously on all your assets.
Mhm. No, and I think that that's one of those things that's going to obviously continue to evolve out there. And it's like with all of this stuff that it's designed for the end user, right? The operator of these trucks and these trailers and the owners of these trucks and these trailers is obviously none of this stuff is cheap, right? Like the average over the road truck and trailer. I mean, you're for a 53-foot reefer and a truck, you're probably sitting in upwards of $250,000 for brand new. I don't know the exact cost of some of these service and work trucks, but they're not cheap. And for you guys to be able to extend the life cycle of that as well, especially with these, like you guys brought up, issues in supply chain earlier and everything else. I mean, I know like Boeing in particular, who's got a really bad image out there on the market right now, but they're
Yep.
not even able to process some of their orders right now due to a backup and a backlog in parts. And I think like these are some of those alternatives that you can look into to keep the life, like I don't want to call it in transition of purchase of your equipment and stuff like that, but this can extend that life cycle out there. And and I think like reducing anything to keep your downtime. I think like that's the biggest thing out there for any business, especially inside of the transportation industry, is reducing downtime for your revenue producing assets. And I think like I'm the most excited about that from a technology perspective is being able to better predict it, keep these fleets maintained better, and then increase that longevity that's going on out there, because we can't control interest rates and everything else and financing terms sometimes, especially as a small business. You're kind of thrown out to the wolves. And this is a great way where you can hold on to those assets for a really long time. And I think with what you guys are doing out there in your respective fields, I think is going to be a major benefit, and it's going to continue to be a major benefit to those industries. So really want to appreciate both of your guys' time today for joining. How does anybody reach out to you guys to find out more? Jimmy, we'll start with you, and then Josh will end with you.
Yeah. You want me to just give email and phone
Yeah.
number?
Yeah. How does anybody reach out to you to find out more?
Yeah. Biggest, easiest way, we have a website, Purkeys.net. But you can also reach out to me, email. It's jfielding@Purkeys.net. That's typically the easiest way to get a hold of me. Cell is 479-305-2877. Reach out to me anytime. I'd love to talk about your application, and see what we can do for you.
Perfect. And Josh?
Same as Jimmy. So ZeroRPM.com is our website. Tons of information there. My email, josh.essmon@ZeroRPM.com. And then my cell, 256-338-6736. And then also on the website, you can find the support forums, or you can click and send a generic email, if you will, to a whole group of people inside the ZeroRPM organization to get that answered as quickly as possible.
Perfect. Fellas, I appreciate your time. And if you guys, for some reason, can't find either Jimmy or Josh, just hit me up. I will gladly put you guys in contact with them. And again, these are these topics, and what everybody needs to be looking into inside of their business to find out, especially with any of the new legislation that's possibly out there on Capitol Hill. It's easier to get ahead of it than wait until the last minute, and then you find yourself not able to even operate your equipment because you waited too long on that. But if you guys got value in what you heard today, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there to your network, because if you see value, your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys, and we'll be talking to you soon.
Right that the earth is mine. Burn bright, let the ember shine. You know I'm gonna get it every time. Champion, wearing the crown. I can see my name in lights. Spark from the heart and it shines so bright. Yeah, let the whole world know. Let's go, let's go, let's go.